Oh yeah, there we are. Achieve this with me. You can keep it playing. Scott J. Sycamore. I think every one of you, yes, you also, out there listening, quote unquote. We'll put that in air quotes. This show is brought to you by RNAdrink.com. Yes, expand your reality with the craziest, best nutritional product supplement out there. Really. And by Westside Catering. That's my other joint here on the west side of Los Angeles. You can call in 888-235-7374 or our direct line. I've gotten good luck out of this line before. 917-677-5151. Ah, the music's gone. We're back to pure, raw, untested bliss state. No, this is not a psychic reading show, so the psychic freaks and junkies can stay away. We don't predict the future here. We create it with actual words and the play that they are involved in. You say how that's possible, just look around after you hear this, and you'll see a lot of parallels between what we say here and the direct outer workings of that world that's spinning around out there outside of you. Yes, theoretically outside, if you want to believe in that. So yeah, people call in. Seriously, it's going to happen. For every 50,000 listeners, we'll get one call. But that's enough, because I know by the end point of this so-called end, we'll have plenty of people that have downloaded this or even listened live. But who watches stuff live anymore? We're not a live culture. We're a taped culture, and we don't even use tape anymore. It's all digitized, and it's not even digitized anymore. It's quantumized, deep computing, super level, quantum mathematics, quantum kinetics, wormholianism, all that stuff smushed together in a miles-long reactor shooting one particle out amongst 40 billion pieces of air, crushing into another particle, making a very short antimatter reaction. Is this what we need right now? I say possibly. Yay or nay? You could disagree or not. Everyone come to achieveradio.com. That's what it is, right? Listen to the live tuner. This is all going to be processed and archived after the fact, put on iTunes, everything like that. I think, right? Yeah, why not? It'll be on somewhere. I'll be making YouTube videos of these presentations as well. Well, let's not call them videos. Okay? Let's call them a couple images, photos of barely slideshow over my audio, this voice that you hear right now, and perhaps some music. Seriously, it all might be there. For instance, you could check out my 11-part video series I did with my buddy Mike Pico from GP Productions with a Z. We did one called Media Salt, like the opposite of pepper, like throw it on your dinner plates. Media Salt, 2 words. You type that into YouTube, you should get it. 11 different episodes. It's like what I described, a picture talking musical journey through irreverent alternative history and spirituality. If you want to sum it up like that, just saying. Seriously possible? So you might ask, what am I doing here? Who the F am I? Well, yeah, let's start. I'm Scotty. That's what they call me. And I just, for the longest time, I had this noble mission of big dream, and that was to be on an all-internet radio station with few listeners and an obscure psychic spiritual bent to its programming, and not all of it is even live or in the moment at all. They do, this is Achieve Radio. I mean, they do strange stuff and 8-hour shows and replays of repeats and all kind of distance psychic readings of time manipulation. I don't know, but this is the right place because this is the game changer right here. This show right now. Yes, you got it. You heard it right. What you're listening to. I mean, in the promo, it says the voice that will change Earth forever. And why not? Why shouldn't it? Like I said, you'll see things out there, hear things. It's going to correlate between this. I noticed it in my own work at the media assault level, and this is achieve this level. Huh? What do you think about that? Once again, phone number, call in Achieve Radio on Skype or 888-235-7374. That's a nice number. That's good. That's easy to remember. All right, film reviews. Let's do it. Arbitrage, starring Richard Gere. I watched it. My friend told me about it. It has the unique distinction of coming out in the theater and on demand the same day, video on. And so I don't know what that means. Really, it's telling you it's good enough for the theater, but it's also really on the level of a cable film, right, as well, or an on-demand film, since cable now has that added augmentation on top of it. You got the tri-layer of cable, on-demand, and then streaming content a la Netflix. What kind of triple threat is that? Seriously, who knows what that is? So you got Arbitrage, directed by Nick Jarecki, not to be confused with Eugene Jarecki, who I saw in Real Time with Bill Maher from this last Friday. So there's two Jarecki directories out there. I don't know. Eugene does documentaries, and Nicholas works on fictional things, but that also tell truth about world stuff. So I don't know. We're going to have to dig into that connection. So Nick Jarecki directs this film called Arbitrage, meaning being in the process of negotiating a deal, I believe, on one hand, in Wall Streetese, but also it's has a definition apparently of sort of manipulating situations and getting away with scurrilous activity. So like all movie titles do, this one has a double meaning, and I mean all movie titles, okay? From Avatar on down. Look at them, analyze them against the film, and you'll see that it works in a few different ways, because somehow that channeled energy from writing stuff creates this multi-level of meaning type things. As in all great stories, people, you can look at them again and again, and they're going to spring forth new riches, like the Jellystone National Park geyser, or whatever the F that thing is, Crystal Geyser, whatever they damn call it. Old Faithful. And that's what we want to be here. We want you to be old faithful to this damn show. This isn't a fucking brand, okay? I'm sick of people talking about their brands and how it affects the brand image. No. I'm a man. I'm a Hugh man. I'm not a Hugh brand. All right? Brands are for cattle with a hot poker jabbed into their skin and marking them for life to be led off to ungreener pastures, all right? That's not what we do around here. This is a meta-human movement on the subquantum level. All right? Okay. I never even went to the movie review. Just told you the basics. That's called rambling, folks. That's okay. All right? Not going to sit here and read pre-recorded notes to you people and all that Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. No. Let's talk about Arbitrage film with Richard Gere. It's a Wall Street, I guess, it's not a mystery because there's no mystery to it, but it's a crime thriller, semi-mystery, Wall Street entanglement flick. Business thriller, that's the new genre, as they call it. Got things like Margin Call, Wall Street 2, Arbitrage. It's a pretty good film. It's got this cable element. It's got that video on demand element. It's hard to say what that is, but something about everything from who the actors are to just certain ways people say things or how certain scenes pan out to sort of a small feeling, an indie feeling, a lower budget than usual feeling. So I could see the video on demand first day, content wise, why they threw that in there. The acting is pretty solid, as you'd expect, you know. The old lion, I being the lion of internet radio, but the old lion of Richard Gere as this tycoon, whatever that means still. And yeah, him and Susan Sarandon as his wife. Excellent casting for 1987. Nowadays also works well. But maybe it fits in with Nick Jarecki's previous work on a film called The Informers, which he wrote, directed by Gregor Jordan. And he wrote that. Now, that is an actual 80s film of the young Hollywood suburban urban party life in the 80s, much to Bret Easton Ellis's not surprise, who wrote the book on that. So we have this sort of 80s-ish connection with just the business stuff and the actors to this arbitrage film. And it's good. It's got a dark tone, but it's not overly suffocating like that. And it's eminently watchable. It's not hateable. There's not a lot of serious flaws, although like so many films, you could pick it apart piece by piece. That's the newest thing for me, is just you can watch a film and every 5 seconds pick out a plot hole, especially the big ones like the Avengers. It just, woo, you could drive trucks through there. There should be a plot hole trucking company someone should set up, because, I mean, you could really get a lot of routes going. And, you know, overall, this flick, you should check it out. That's all I can really say. What else do you want from me? Semi-check it out. I'll give it a B-, you know, around there on my grading scale. Check out my film reviews from years past on Lee's Movie Info. That's Lee, L-E-E's movieinfo.com. Go to the Scott Sycamore section of archived reviews, and you'll see my writing style and what I have to say about all these flicks that you forgot about from 6 years ago. Really? No, for real. Definitely check it out. It's more of a pedigree. It's a resume, really. And so, yeah, Arbitrage gets B-. What else is there? Talk about my friend's film, a film called Bernie, starring Jack Black. It's another non-mystery, crime, not crime comedy indie, right? And a friend of mine worked on releasing the thing, damn near released it himself. And yeah, Bernie, Jack Black, based on a true story. Really nice guy, apparently, who's probably gay, who kills his elderly lover, but the town still likes him, and there's a trial and courtroom stuff after that. Really excellent indie film. Jack Black performance of this year / his career, and very interesting if you can get down with the multi-layered, multi-messaged, contradictory, indie, just filmmaking, non-computer graphical, just story. Helps that it's based on a true story, but I'm sure they got embellishments going on there. Bernie would get a B. I'd probably a B. Let's go with the B. It's a little more, I don't know, amusing than something like Arbitrage. Even though it's not as maybe inside baseball when it comes to business and stuff like that. But there's a lot of business stuff going on in Bernie too, with him exploiting the elderly woman's trust, money-wise and emotional-wise, and buying houses for people and traveling the world and taking flying lessons and having a plane. Just like Cash Flow on this ferry station with James Martinez, it shows you business is the entry point into this whole grand racketeering thing we got going on, into the conspiracy zone into the regular world zone, real life, fake life. It's just, that's where it all goes in. It's cash flow. Like, why is there a cash flow show on a psychic medium network? Because that's the entry point. Money makes the world go round. And even though it physically doesn't in our lifetimes, it makes sure that we get to spin around along with the world and keep walking on that ground that's constantly shifting under our feet, even though it feels pretty solid, right? Whoa, Nelly, I'm telling you, truly. And what else is there? You guys tell me. The fans out there in radio world, my plants, my callers, where are they? Come on, plants. I know you're out there, plants. You've grown like a garden, plants. Get to this, really. So, I see that it's RNA Drops' birthday today. RNA Drops are something that I sell. I work with the president of the company and put forth these magical, I would say, but more like physical, nutritional barley, wheat seed, extract-y things that you can look at the entire ingredient and patent for online. But yeah, I don't know, they're relatively amazing. You could check out my testimonial on YouTube. Just go to freaking Bork Johnson's page, B-O-R-K Johnson. You can see the media assaults. You can look at my what else would it be? Oh yeah, the RNA testimonial. Hey, look who we got online. Hey, Billy boy, put him through. It's Matthew from NJ. I think that's New Jersey. Hello, Matthew.
Yes, Scott Sycamore.
How the heck are you? I've met you before, haven't I?
Yes, in New Jersey once.
Right. Yeah, what's up?
I'm having some relationship problems. Just wanted some psychic advice.
Okay, all right. I explicitly said we're not for the psychic junkies, but let's do this. Okay, very good. Relationship. What is your relationship problem, as you describe it, Matthew from NJ?
It's the lack of relationships.
Okay, so that's your problem. So what you're saying is the problem is that there's no thing to have a problem about.
Right. So is this a movie show?
That's one of the many topics we cover on this particular program. I just thought I would sort of start with that just because it's something I know about and I can roll it off the top of my head, and it's just about keeping going. And you called in at the exact right time, so I applaud you for that. I mean...
Oh, who directed Bernie?
Bernie was directed by a man named Richard Linklater. I'm sure you know the name, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know his previous work, but I do know you have a very good understanding of directors and their works.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I think that's
almost encyclopedic.
Yes. Not that people know what an encyclopedia may or may not be at this point, but yes. I think that's how a quote unquote real film fan looks at cinema, through the director lens, not to be punny. But you split up by director, because you see one good movie and it's by a certain person, you want to seek out the rest of their catalog. It's just sort of how it works. It's called being a fan. And that's all it takes. I mean, that's the crux of it. A lot of people get into business, like box office returns and stuff like that, which is interesting, but yeah, I'm with it.
So do the Jews run Hollywood? Is that true?
Do the Jews run Hollywood? Interesting. Well, they are credited, I guess, with starting it in the first place, back in the old studio era. So you'd figure they would be basically the same people that run it today if they've passed along their traditional values properly. But I mean, I guess they run it more than they run other industries. Yeah, sure. But it's like anything. They're not in every single position. There's only so many Jews to fill up like the ranks of every position everywhere. So yeah, it's in deep. Just Jews and entertainment, long history together.
And there's a lot of people say a lot of these actors are actually homosexual. There's a lot of those rumors that go on.
And sometimes it concretely passes from the realm of rumor to reality, like in the case of John Travolta. But yeah, I mean, you could say that almost every popular male star gets accused of being gay, which has maybe some relevance to that. But yeah, there's more of that kind of, what would you call it? Preference. There's more of that kind of preference in the arts, the world of art and entertainment, I must say. So,
and politics seems to have a lot of rumors
about gayness, you say?
Yeah.
They do? Well, they seem to get caught, the political people. They seem to get actually caught red-handed a little bit more in the realm of sex scandal and gay scandal also.
What? Have you heard about Richard Gere and gerbils?
I have. He is about as famous for supposedly having a gerbil pulled out of his backside at a hospital or whatever because he stuck it up there.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I don't think that's believable, but it is nice to be famous for anything.
Well, the point is that he's famous, right?
Right. Like if I had a gerbil up my ass, no one would know.
Correct. Unless you went to the hospital, got records, and then sent it to everyone. But yeah, with him, I mean, that was quite a long time ago when that rumor persisted, probably back in his much younger days, swinging, bisexual, who knows, back in 80s Hollywood and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Mr. Gere seems to pull it off, I guess. I mean, he's still around. Like, he is still famous, even if he's not like an A-list factor. Yeah, we'll never know the real truth about the gerbil thing, but it sticks in your mind just like the gerbil was stuck in him, allegedly.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies about the CIA.
There's a comparative a lot, yes, and they also appear in many films that aren't necessarily about them, such as The Dark Knight Rises. But yeah, the CIA. Were you going to say something else?
No, I haven't seen The Dark Knight Rises. I know there was a shooting in relation to it.
And I'll tell you this much, that the first scene, which came on right before the shooting, because the shooting was about 15 minutes into the film, the first scene does in fact involve a CIA operative who gets on a plane with the villain Bane, and then hell breaks loose on the plane. But yeah, they specifically say like, oh, hey, we're from the CIA. And then of course, like, don't check who the people are. They don't take their hoods off to look at their face and all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, this bumbling CIA that gets taken for a ride. But yeah, and then basically right when that scene was done, if I calculate properly, is about when the shooting started in that supposed movie theater in Colorado. But yeah, there's those people are a lot around. People should see the film The Good Shepherd with Matt Damon for a historically accurate look at CIA stuff.
Yeah, who directed that one?
Robert De Niro, who you may know better as an actor in film. He's only directed, I believe, 2 movies. There's that, The Good Shepherd. Then you got A Bronx Tale from like 94, with him as well. De Niro is in both films, but I think those are the only 2 films he's done. But yeah, everyone's got to direct at least like 2, maybe 1, even big actors.
Right. Has Matt Damon directed films?
Nah, I don't think he's had his debut yet. No, unless I'm missing something, but I don't believe so. But I'm sure he's working on it. Ben Affleck beat him to the punch. He's got his 3rd film coming out soon, which is also involves the CIA and national security, called Argo.
Argo, right. And they wrote Good Will Hunting together.
They did, which also involves very, in the background, the national security apparatus, right? Which you say he goes off to work for them pretty much at the end, correct?
Yeah, that's true. There's some NSA references.
Right. Lots of.
It's about intelligence and power struggles.
And it was created by those 2 individuals.
And there's some strange Kevin Smith ties with them, which brings up the New Jersey trilogies.
Right. Yes, the Jersey universe, the Askew universe from View Askew Productions. Yeah, well, I guess they were both, Affleck and Damon were both buddies with Kevin Smith before they got famous and did Good Will Hunting, and then there was a scuttlebutt because they won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, them 2 together, and they forgot to thank Kevin Smith on stage, and I guess he was butthurt about that. And, yeah, I mean, that was it. They were still good friends after that and have worked together in such films as Dogma. I'm sure that's a touchstone for you.
Dogma. Yeah, well, I've since learned a lot more of Christian eschatology from listening to shows such as Cash Flow, but at the time I grew up Jewish, so I didn't follow all the Catholic references, but now I'm quite, knowledgeable about fallen angels and Book of Revelation, so.
It's amazing how much you learn, huh?
And that, yeah, Alanis Morissette plays God in that film.
Recto. In a form, just one of her forms. Or as Timothy Leary would call it, Shehim, S/him, as in she and he together. Shim. So Alanis would play that because she, maybe at the time was the biggest selling female artist, or she had, I don't know, her first album was like the biggest selling female, I think it was the female solo debut album, if we can crunch all that together.
Jagged Little Pill.
Jagged Little Pill, yes, that was the biggest selling female debut album ever, up until...
She was in a show called You Can't Do That on Television on Nickelodeon, which is a Canadian show, I believe.
So I'm not sure if I'd heard that specific piece of information before. She was on You Can't. Oh, it's sort of coming back to me. So she was confirmedly on that show.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole Canadian intelligence complex, which runs America.
So, right, the Dobbsian 10 council octopus of intelligence.
Like Drake was on Degrassi playing a guy in a wheelchair before he had a career in America.
I didn't know he played a bound individual on said show.
Yeah, there's a lot of Canadians that do very well. Like SNL had a bunch of Canadians.
A lot of people who are Canadian and were really on SCTV, people think came from SNL. So, yeah, it's like, you're right, Canada sits above, literally, the United States, and perhaps it actually sits above it, like you're talking about, with their intelligence hooks into us. I mean, we were just talking arbitrage, and you mentioned Drake, who was supposed to be in that film, and I don't know why he did not end up in it, if he dropped out or what was going on. But yeah, like, what?
I learned Louis C.K. is a Mexican.
Maybe a partial Latino. Yeah, you never really know. I mean, yeah, he could be half Irish, half Mexican. If James Woods can be half Latino, so can Louis C.K. I think.
And there's a new movie with Clint Eastwood about baseball with Justin Timberlake.
Right, Trouble with Irv.
Right, that one wasn't on your must-see TV list?
Out of my must-see TV, I mean, it's a baseball film, I would say that only goes so far, although I was a fan of such things as Moneyball. This is actually the first movie, get this is the first movie, back to national security again, this is the first movie Clint has been in as an actor, but he has not directed the film since In the Line of Fire, which I believe was in like 93 or 94. So, yeah, the last time he just starred in a movie, well, he was a Secret Service agent, and now he's a baseball scout.
Right. It was Richard Gere in a movie with Topher Grace about intelligence agencies a couple of years ago. I
think I vaguely know what you're talking about. I can't name it. I don't think you're referencing Breach with Ryan Felipe.
No, it's tough to solve. Richard Gere's career was he really had Primal Fear in the last 20 years.
Pretty much. I mean, whatever happened, the gerbil rumors got to him, or I'm not exactly sure what happened, but, he was big in the 80s and then continued into the early 90s with stuff like Pretty Woman. And then at a certain point, I don't know if he just aged himself out or the gerbil thing caught up with him or he's just a dick. He was married to Cindy Crawford for a while, the former supermodel.
Oh, right. So Pretty Woman turned a lot of young females into prostitutes, I imagine.
It had the net effect, right? So it's not just that movie alone, but that and 10 million other pieces of media, and then that's a particular one seen by women many times over. Because, yeah, women watch things like over and over, sort of like a fanboy would. Right? So their favorite movie they've seen 40 times, which goes for a lot of people. But yeah, eventually it implants into your brain and you start wanting to act like something. But the genius is that it's unconscious, so people will never admit to or even know that that's why they're doing something. So they'll deny it.
Bridesmaids was very successful, and now there's a newer movie very similar I didn't see called something... like there's a movie very similar to Bridesmaids, but that movie was known to be very graphic, but it's a female movie.
Graphic, right?
It's vulgar. I think
it's just showing. Yeah, it's showing that the girls can be just like the guys, right? They can keep up with the boys. I mean, Judd Apatow is behind that flick. So, I mean, clearly he just took his typical formula of a group of guys being graphic, as you say, and reversed it into female. And what do you know? It worked like gangbusters, didn't it? It lined his pockets nicely. In fact, it was an even bigger hit than his male-dominated comedies. So, yeah, this is where it comes from.
Judd Apatow. Well, he's just the wealthy Beverly Hills type at this point.
Yes, he is one of those Jews, I think you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you get a lot of money in the film business, and then you move to a large house in the Beverly Hills zip code, and you have a pool, and you raise children, you send them to the finest schools, and you continue living your life. I know you have many great takes on things like this, don't you, Matthew?
Oh yeah, on like how people behave in the corporate world. I do, but I was just calling to, congratulate you on your first show. And
Thank you. I
don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you have an agenda to get to, but I'll try calling back sometime soon, but good luck with all your endeavors.
Thank you very much. I was going to say you can most definitely stay on, and there's only 19 minutes left, which is actually more like 16 or something. Oh, no, it'll be the full 19. In other words, you can stay on unless you want to go. I'll continue. So,
well, I'll be in the background, and for now, and we'll see.
Yeah, your question string is now ended for now. The query string.
Yeah, I'm not yet. I understand the show a little better. I was curious what you were doing.
Very good. All right, that's Matthew. I call him Matthew X out there in the wilderness of New Jersey, our wildernessiest state, the Garden State they call it, and yet it is famous for having chemical and power plants and stuff. So ungardeny, but that's the point, you see. Oh, Bob. Oh, wow. What is this now? Bob wants to call in. I don't get it. I get a phone number and it says Bob. Bill, explain this. Can Bob just call in, or do I have to, call him? What's the dealio? Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. What's the Bob scenario? He tried to call. Can you have him just call in to the damn Skypeify? Because I don't know what should one like me do? Pick up my cell phone and call it and then put that up to my mic? Oh, heck no. This might be amateur hour, but it ain't that amateur, as I flub that line. No, we run a professional op here. Mr. Dobbs, Mr. Bob Dobalina, can he not call into Skype? Just let me know. People, it's that simple. You call the toll-free number, you call the direct line, you call into Achieve Radio at Skype, you let me do my thing. Good old Jack Burton is clearing up this area, doing the talk show thing. It's my first talk show after I cleared up the Big Trouble in Little China. We're letting you call in. It's totally free. We want Bob Dobbs. Well, let me intro. Apparently we have this media cult figure named Bob Dobbs who is attempting to call this show or something in his roundabout way. And he's just an interesting character. You people out there, if you never heard of him, you got to look into this guy. I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly his whole biography because I don't really know. I don't think anyone does, but he has a lot of media, radio appearances going back to the early 80s and has just been this underground cultural figure, staple head. Is that even a term? He's been around for a while. If you've ever heard of the Church of the Subgenius, they use his so-called image and his likeness on their for their logo, basically. And supposedly he inspired that. And everyone, I'm telling you, everyone in the fringe and the weirdo and the artistic and the UFO and the ship kickers community, they know this guy Bob Dobbs. Even Matt from New Jersey knows this guy. And, I've had my dialogues with this character, and he apparently tried to call. He tried to call. See, that's how it works on shows like this. You try to call. You don't even call, you try. So my engineer out there.
Yeah, Scott.
Hey.
Yeah, I called in about 15 minutes ago. The first words I hear on your show, I realized later you're talking to Matthew, you go, the Dobbsian, blah, 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 and then you talk about Canada and looking down the States. But the first word I hear of your voice in your new show is Dobbsian.
Incredible. I told Bob at the top of the show, I said, you're going to hear play out in your actual world.
Now, you blipped out. Say that sentence again.
I said I told people right at the top of this show here that I would say things, and then things would actually appear. They would happen in the world. And it started with you, which is the perfect meta circle.
Yeah. No, and the reason I did it, we were over doing our regular my press conference, and Shirley reminded me that we had said a couple hours before that maybe we should call in on Scott's show. So we all hooked up at the same number, and then I was hooking up through Skype and doing this and calling Bill. And I don't know if they came with me. They might have got disconnected. But that would be John and Shirley, and maybe Tina. They were on the press conference with me.
Huh?
What?
The most regular conference people.
Yeah, the most regular. And so we took a while to get hooked up. I may have lost them, but I gave up. So now what did I want to say? So we're here. What were you guys saying about Canada? Were you saying that Canada is influential, or people from Canada? That's true in comedy.
It's true in comedy. Actually, Matthew brought up the point that there's a lot of actors and just entertainment things that are linked into Canadian intelligence, which is what really controls American intelligence and society.
And that becomes British intelligence.
Right, yes, which pings out back across the ocean into England.
Yeah.
And correct. And we discussed movies that involve the CIA and national security apparatus.
Right. For British intelligence, you got Tina Brown, you got Graydon Carter. What does he run? Vanity Fair now? Graydon Carter? He's Canadian.
Funny. Stop right there, Bob. Stop right there. You mentioned Graydon Carter. We were just talking about a movie called Arbitrage that just came out with Richard Gere, and Graydon Carter has a part in that film, even though he's not even an actor, to my knowledge, and yet he's in this film playing a rich guy who buys another rich guy's company and whatnot. But yes, he represents Canadian intelligence right in there. You mentioned him. You mentioned who else right just now?
Tina Brown.
Tina Brown, right? She of another magazine. She runs? What, Newsweek or Time now?
No, I don't. Maybe I am not up on that. She had a TV show, but she did The New Yorker or Vanity Fair for many years, and then she left it and started her own thing around 2000, but it failed. And then she's been wandering around with a couple of TV shows, but I could look up in the wiki right in a minute and see what she actually is doing. But her husband was Harold Evans, the head of the London Times, and that's directly into British intelligence, and she was a close friend of Lady Di, a close friend of promoting of John Kennedy Jr., and a few other these people. And Graydon Carter is like the Canadian version of her, and it's almost like he had to be in this Arbitrage movie to spy on what they were making.
Yes, correcto. I mean, he and Graydon looks like the typical sort of, I don't know how to put it, he looks like a cartoon villain from my youth, but he looks like one of those, he's got the hair going everywhere, and it shocks white hair, and it's just like, wow, you definitely look the part of a larger-than-life sort of upscale weirdo.
Yeah, upscale weirdo. What that means is he's a nerd, and a nerd might is not too social, so spies on people, and yet he's become richer and more elegant, so he has to stylize his clothing and his hairstyle because of mingling with the beautiful people, and as a result, his nerdiness infects his stylish, so he looks weird.
He's
right? It's a little off.
He is, absolutely. And yes, correct. It's the people that are prone to geekiness that are also prone to like doing crazy stuff with their hair and like all this whatever piercing and sort of body stuff and larger than life projections of themselves, because that's sort of in their mind, in their little personal mind, that's how they want to see themselves, right?
Yeah, they're aggressive, passive aggressive. They want to invade people, spy on them, and have the inside track on stuff.
Very, very interesting. And now, so there's this direct connect. So this is the connection from British/Canadian intelligence into the magazine world, which is a very potent media. And yes, if it's the Tina Brown you mentioned before, who I think you're talking about, she was at Vanity Fair, Graydon Carter's monkey butt right there. So
let me read you this. Let me read. First of all, I want to say something about what did you just say? Canadian. Oh, magazine. The Dobbs quadrant in the tiny chart is the magazine. The sub-medium is magazine. LaRouche is newspaper. McLuhan is electric media, TV, radio. Thompson is the printed book, and Croker is the movie. But the magazine is actually the tetrad managing medium because it covers all fields. You know what I mean? Just like the CIA would.
It does. I mean, magazines are one of the most potent ways to put things in people's heads on a very one-on-one level. I mean, just look at the influence of these tabloid fashion entertainment magazines, especially on the female mind, but just on the culture in general. I mean,
they're the modern version of the Nielsen ratings. They go hand in hand with the Nielsen ratings is Big Brother. That's the fake standard, the hierarchy of who's popular and who isn't, you know?
Right. Well, Nielsen, as far as I know, is sort of a very indirect way of measuring who's watching TV, right? It's something like they take averages they call people in the middle of the show or something like that. Whereas with a magazine, you know how many are sold. I mean, you don't have to guess. So you know exactly directly how you're influencing.
That's right. Now here's her biography. Tina Brown, she's now a Lady Evans, because her husband was Harry Evans, CBE, so she's been singled out by the Queen. Her original name, Christina Hambley Brown, November 21st, 1953. So she is coming to 60 years old. Is a journalist, magazine editor, columnist, talk show host, and author of the Diana Chronicles, a biography of Diana, Princess of Wales. Born a British citizen, she took United States citizenship in 2005 after emigrating in 1984 to edit Vanity Fair. And that's when Turner Taxis, the other guy in Europe, took over with his wife, Gloria TNT. And Vanity Fair does a big spread on Miss TNT and her taking over the social scene in New York away from Happy Rockefeller. That was Nelson's wife. In 1984.
When you came on.
Having been editor-in-chief of Tatler magazine at only 25 years of... No, Tatler. See, that's spy,
Tatler.
Gossip.
That's telling on people.
Yeah, at only 25 years of age. I mean, here she is married to this old geezer. Why would a young, nice-looking woman like her be hanging out with an old geezer? Having been editor-in-chief... Probably because of MK Ultra. You know, hypnotized by him.
Okay. That would be one reason.
Yeah. So at 25, she's editor-in-chief. She rose to prominence in the American media industry as the editor of Vanity Fair from 84 to 92. And then the New Yorker, so that's a little higher, and the New Yorker from 92 to 98. In 2000, she was appointed a commander of the Order of the British Empire for her services to overseas journalism. She was working on behalf of the British Empire doing overseas journalism.
In America, yes.
Yeah.
In their bitch colony of New York City. Go.
Yeah, now I knew a lot about the British takeover even when I was still in Toronto, of New York City. But the New York Observer is a pretty savvy newspaper, and around the late 90s, they did a big article on how it was a grievance article by native New York, writers about how the British had taken over the New York media scene over the last 10 or 15 years. So even these guys saw the British takeover. The working stiffs.
There's been many British invasions into the media, not least of which was the actual British invasion of the Beatles and them back in the early 60s. But I mean, you go in one industry.
How about the Bible, the printing press, King James Version? There's a major invasion of the new medium of the printing press.
King James, an Englishman. These people out there in Churchville, they are putting the holy exact word of God on the editing skills of an Englishman, King, I'm sure, dirty bastard.
Yeah. So
devises the whole thing just to fuck with people's minds. Yeah.
Right. In 2007, she was inducted into the Magazine Editors Hall of Fame. As an editor, she has also been honored with 4 George Polk Awards, 5 Overseas Press Club Awards, and 10 National Magazine Awards. She's probably the most successful magazine person in the world, so to speak.
You just might be right. And let me say that I don't know if it says that there in your little chip box right there, but now I am damn sure that now she's, I believe, the editor-in-chief of I want to say Newsweek. Yes, not Time. I was going to say Time. Newsweek. So now they brought her into the flagging mainstream press to try to bolster it. Yes.
But look at this. In the old days, in the 50s and 60s, Newsweek was owned by the Rothschilds and Time was owned by the Rockefellers. That was the old battle between British and American CIA and MI5. So look at this. In October 2008, this is after the collapse of the economy, or right when the economy is collapsing, she partnered with Barry Diller, who's a big deal guy, big executive,
I know
chairman of IAC Interactive Corporation, to found and edit the Daily Beast. Talk about an update of the horror of Babylon, the Daily Beast. They call it that. 2 years later, in November 2010, the Daily Beast announced it will merge with the American weekly news magazine Newsweek in a joint venture to form the Newsweek Daily Beast Company. See, she couldn't merge with Time. That's Rockefeller. She had to merge with the British Rothschild magazine.
Well, it's the British merging through their agent into the Americas, which looks like she's taking sides of America over Britain, but not really. Isn't that correct?
Right.
So that's fascinating. So Newsweek and the Daily Beast are actually the same company.
Yeah.
At this point.
She serves as editor-in-chief of both publications.
Of course. It's very blatant. If you notice, there's a lot of red featured in both the covers of Time and Newsweek. Time having the red outline, or the red shield. The red shield, you might call it, Rothschild.
Right.
And then Newsweek has a sort of red stripe across where they put their banner, their title of the magazine. And, it's all filtered down from this Sherwood Forest Robin Hood sigil color scheme sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, here's what it is. Yeah. Here's what she controls, is the social circle. Looking at her life, every famous person. You see, when you're editor of a magazine, you get to be at the interviews, and it's basically an ongoing tea party when you're the editor. Everybody does the work, and you're just mingling around, meeting Mick Jagger, bringing over his wife, Jerry Hall, all this social stuff. And if you look at her wiki, she's got everybody there. Everybody is going through her. So she's at the heart of gossip. And we don't live in a democracy. We live in a gossipocracy.
Gossipocracy, absolutely.
Yeah, gossipocracy. And that's an information society. That's the slang version of the word makes the market. That's gossip. But that requires a lot of vetting. If you're going to make it in some way in the mainstream centralized version part of the Android meme, you go through Tina. Tina will meet you. Tina will check you out.
She'll interface with you. All right, we got 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes left before we hit the hour. I don't know if we go off.
So let me say this.
Yeah, say your best.
Scott, my tiny note chart, I should switch it to the Tina note chart.
Oh, well, no, you couldn't give her that much credence. Now,
no, I couldn't, but this is a joke.
I don't think the council would sign off on that, would they? Not that they exist anymore.
No, they wouldn't. And they're not. I mean, Tina's been she's been the loose rag for 10 or 15 years. I've seen her occasionally when I was in New York. She lost her footing. Really, she's been playing desperate to keep up. The Rothschilds are poor since 2000. So she's been weak since she left the New Yorker.
But yet has moved into this, at least in America, higher sphere, or in the greater America, higher sphere of
But it's the dead America.
Influence.
It's the dead America. The question is she using her connections to hook in with China? That's the big thing. How's she doing with China?
What is she doing with China?
I'm not up on
ask
that.
her? Well, yeah, I mean, the only time I've seen her I've seen her actually a lot on TV, mostly on Bill Maher's show, which is the only one I watch sort of all the time. And I've seen her on there. And if she's on there, they get people on there who are the definition of this old guard. Gatekeepers for information and opinion. So, I mean, and that's exactly, there's this whole strain of older British women, both on that show and out there in the news media society world in general, that really just, it's like they seem so genteel. Like you said, it's always a tea party, right? And we don't mean the right-wing political tea party in the United States. No, but it's always a tea party, yet they have their thumbs right in there and their thumb screws right to the forehead, right to the temple of that effete, highfalutin. Yeah,
it's like a lot of theater, a lot of novels, a lot of movies show a polite society and a tea party, and all hell's going on in the other room.
The back room. The carriage room. I think that's what it's like the movie Gosford Park, which I haven't seen, but I know it sort of covers that.
Good movie.
Yeah.
And the TV series Downton Abbey is an extension of Gosford Park. They're written by the same guy. Another British aristocrat.
Interesting. So no wonder the peeps out there go nutty basket over it. I mean, it's got so much writing, Bob. There's so much writing. I mean, it's translated by these British actors. All right. Just a minute 15 left. Yeah, I already pitched the RNA drops. RNA Drink is my site. So go through that and order a bunch of shit. Again, there's Media Assault on YouTube. I don't know if you watched any yet, Bob, but you should, and so should anyone else out there.
I've watched about 8 of them.
Oh, very nice. You've almost got through all.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yes, not for now. It's not a 50-second thing. Oh, we're down the last minute. Amazing, Bob. It's like I feel like a spaceship Endeavour landing, cruising in there to.
Yes, I'm inaugurating you as the Sunday extension of Dobbstown. It's the branch plant. You got the franchise, and so I hope you do it with great responsibility.
I will take great care of it, Bob. You know how it is. I just I would say I want, but Ion type stuff would say never say I want or shit like that. Money, going to get a shitload of money, but moreover than that, power. All I ask, Bob, is to be the most powerful man in the galaxy. That's it.
I know.
That's humble. It's humble.
Yeah.
It's all I ask. You know it. 10 seconds. I don't know.
You came to the right place. You came to Dobbstown to learn how to do it. So there it is.
Cackle as I cackle. All right. Later, peace.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Bill.